No, it's specifically.
See that she is on the Zoom.
Okay, well, it's 7 o'clock. It's 7 o'clock, so we'll call to order this meeting of the Middleton Plan Commission for January 23rd. Can we start with the roll call?
Adams,
Here.
Bruce,
Here.
Harp,
Here.
Panayro,
Here.
Mayor Kuhn,
Here.
Erdman Hermans is en route, and Commissioner Summers is absent and excused.
Okay, great, thank you. The first item of business is approval of the minutes. Do we have any corrections to the January 9th, 2024 meeting minutes? Seeing none, the minutes are accepted as prepared. Next item of business is to set a public hearing for an amendment to the comprehensive plan for the City of Middleton future land use map change for 7617 Terrace Avenue. Would someone like to propose a public hearing scheduled for Tuesday, March 12th at 7 p.m.?
I will propose that we set that public hearing.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Adams will second.
Thank you. All right, so it's been moved and seconded that we set a public hearing for Tuesday, March 12th at 7 p.m. for an amendment to the comprehensive plan for the City of Middleton future land use map change for 7617 Terrace Avenue. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, the ayes have it. Next item of business is to set a public hearing for a rezoning from R2 residential two-family attached units, current ordinance to MUD downtown mixed use, proposed zoning ordinance for the property south of 7621 Terrace and west of 7626 Aurora Street and 7617 Terrace Avenue. And I'm looking for a motion to set a public hearing for Tuesday, March 12th at 7 p.m.
Adams will make a motion to set the public hearing.
Thank you.
Bruce will second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All right, hearing none. All those in favor of setting a public hearing for a rezoning from R2 in the current ordinance to MUD, proposed zoning ordinance for the property south of 7621 Terrace and west of 7626 Aurora and 7617 Terrace Avenue for Tuesday, March 12th at 7 p.m. signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the ayes have it. Moving on to our third item, we have a specific implementation plan modification for sign design review at Middleton Glen, 67 20th Century Avenue. This one we could not address last time because we didn't have 4 members in person. And staff are recommending approval of the sign design as a minor modification contingent upon verification of sign GMN2 outside of the 6-foot utility easement. And the picture is on the screen. Is there any update from staff on this? All right, we have no updates. Does anybody have comments or would someone like to make a motion to approve?
I'll recommend design review approval.
Thank you. I'll second that. And is there any discussion?
And just to clarify, this is not a recommendation to the council, but you're motioning to approve the design, right?
Yep.
That's
Or is
correct.
this- Yeah. okay.
Contingent on
Right.
verification of
Right.
these.
Okay, all those in favor of the motion to approve the sign design as a minor modification contingent upon verification of sign GMN 2 outside of the 6-foot utility easement signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Moving on to item 4, sign design review for future foam at 2314 Parview Road, 2210 Parview Road, and 8430 Murphy Drive. Staff are recommending approval of the 3 signs. Would someone like to make a motion?
Adams will make a motion to approve the signs.
Thank you.
Purple second.
Thank you. All those, is there any discussion?
Um,
Questions about the sign or a staff update?
there is an update. They actually sent in last week while I was out, they sent in a revised location for 2314 Parview. So you can see it's next to the northern exit. And so they're moving it south. In that picture, it's kind of covered by all those trees, but it'll be next to that southern exit instead. And you know, there aren't any utility easements or anything in that location either. I can share that new location really quick. Yes, so it's right here. So it's basically they moved it from up here to down here. We still don't have any issues with that location either. Oops.
Okay, thank you for that clarification and for adding that your staff are still recommending approval. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the 3 signs at Future Foam, 2314 Parview Road, 2210 Parview Road, and 8430 Murphy Drive signify by saying aye. Any opposed? All right, the ayes have it. Moving on.
Ask a quick question.
Yes.
My apologies first for interrupting.
Yes.
This is Lindsay from Sign Art Studios, and we just reviewed the Middleton Glen signs, but there were 3 ground signs in that package.
We have already approved that and we have moved on.
Oh, okay, wonderful. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. All right, item number 5 is the specific implementation plan modification for apartments at Middleton Valley lots 1 and 2 of Red Tail Ridge. And staff, do you have an update before we get a motion?
Yes, so we reviewed the, you know, the updated plan set that they submitted, and we're recommending approval as a minor SIP modification. So that means we are not recommending it to move on to council. The final approval will be here at Plan Commission
Okay,
with the following contingencies listed below.
are these the same 5 that were in the agenda?
Yes.
But it's just you're just clarifying that we're not recommending this go on to council?
Right.
So approve it as a minor SIP modification.
Mhm.
You need that word in it?
Yes.
Of a minor. Okay, so we're looking for a motion to recommend approval of a minor modification for both lots 1 and 2. I'm sorry, a minor modification of the SIP for both lots 1 and 2 of Red Tail Ridge with the following contingencies, and you see the 5 on the screen. Would somebody,
Could I ask, we have the applicant here. Could they come on up and just explain the changes that were made? And I had shared a couple of comments earlier. I just wanted to see if you were able to, you know, answer those.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm Matt Tills. I'm with Canopy and Bruce Architects.
Can you turn that mic on? Sorry.
There, is that better? Okay. Matt Tills, I'm with Canopy and Bruce Architects, and I'm here with Andy Crooks, who is with the development group on the project. So thank you for the opportunity to speak on this. Yeah, we've gone through quite a few sort of small iterations and changes. You know, some smaller and some more significant on this project. I think the principal sort of major change that we've been, you know, kind of trying to incorporate in this is applying to what are going to be the future sort of setback requirements for what is medium density residential use on this property. So that is, we just wanted to ensure that, you know, that I guess we're all kind of on the same page that that this would be, you know, kind of in compliance with that future zoning designation as it, you know, and I'm not sure when that is going to take place, but that this would be a conforming use at that time is really important for us on this project. The other sort of modifications that we've made, some are aesthetic on the exterior, kind of responding to a little bit more diversity on the exterior materials. At one point, we were keeping these as sort of, you know, on lot 1 to have sort of continuity within that lot 1, and on lot 2, continuity on that between the two buildings. We've really sort of mixed, you know, the materials there, you know, based on some staff recommendations and some input that we've received. So what we feel like we've come to is a really nice mix of some contemporary materials, some warm wood toned cement fiber siding, in addition to the stonework that's on the base of the buildings. One of the other changes that we've made is providing further access off of Bellefontaine. I'm sorry, I'm kind of, what is the street that's running perpendicular to Bellefontaine there?
High Road.
High Road, yep, excuse me, High Road, and this was some input from the fire department, wanting to have some, you know, some egress or some entrance into the building off of the street. So because of the topography on the site, so on what you're seeing is building 1 off of High Road, that's a fairly sort of straightforward entrance that we've got into that building there. And with minimal sort of, you know, steps that are going up into that. On building 3, which is coming off of Bellefontaine, really the best location for that was to come off of the corner there just to minimize the amount of steps and stairs that were coming into it. So it does feel like it's coming in off of that corner. We've accommodated that entrance in, and you know, from that corner, I know one of the comments that Commissioner Bruce was the incorporation of some canopies to kind of, yeah, just kind of indicate the entrances, those in a little bit more the same manner as the primary entrances to the building, and we can certainly accommodate that. And I just wanted to kind of put that in the notes there too. We could make that minor change there and basically add those canopies in there, just giving a little bit more prominence to those entrances. I believe those are the principal changes that are reflected in here. 2 more of the comments from Commissioner Bruce. One was some questions about the landscaping and in particular the trees along the street side here, and I guess, you know, kind of engaging in a conversation there too of how do we you know, implement, you know, a sort of stronger rhythm of trees along the sidewalk there. I think we are certainly willing to, you know, and anxious to kind of work with city staff as it makes sense, you know, in that right of way, and really understanding, I guess, what the staff and Middleton's sort of standards want to be in that location in terms of species and placement of those trees, and we can adjust our landscape plans accordingly. And I guess we would ask, you know, that basically be, you know, a staff level sort of discussion, if possible, on that, to come to some agreement on that.
I have a question just for staff. How does the city, control the trees in the street terrace and coordinate those plantings with the landscape plans from the developers?
We have a city forester on staff, and it's typically done for a larger overall development like this. I believe that the city developer agreement, when we're preparing the city developer agreement for the overall development, our forester will estimate the number of trees and then there is an amount put in that's paid for by the developer, but the city, I'm pretty sure that the city would actually purchase and plant the trees in the right of way. I think that I'm right about that. Is that your understanding as well? That we do that work ourselves? We just have the developer pay for it?
I know that the city forester is active in terms of selecting species to make sure they're not not monocultural, whatever. But whether they're planted as part of the infrastructure by the developer or the city, that I don't know.
I was just, I brought up this comment for the Middleton Shores project as well, just making sure that we get enough treescape along the sidewalks so that we get some shade on the sidewalks and get a little bit of a buffer for the buildings themselves. And, going forward, I would hope that we can continue, that efforts to try to keep the plantings of the treescape. If there's one comment that I've heard kind of consistently from some of our neighbors is with the new developments is that hasn't been enough room for trees between the buildings and the sidewalk, or that the trees just aren't there and it just feels pretty barren. So.
Mark.
I just heard you make a distinction that I think is important to make. So the first question was about the terrace trees.
Yeah.
And that's city property. And so that obviously is something that the city selects the species and ensures how they're planted, whether we do it ourselves or the developer.
Right.
But then the Middleton Shores example, which we'll get to in the future, after this, that has to do with planting on private property, and that is the responsibility of the developer exclusively at that point.
Yeah,
and then
yes.
we have species, and our new zoning ordinance is going to do a really good job of listing species and how the points are tallied and all that. That's when that applies, but the street trees are separate from that.
Yeah.
I can better answer your question now. If I can, Daphne, would it be okay if I just share
Yeah.
my screen really quickly? Okay, so I did pull up the city developer agreement for this project and I found there's a section that says provide to the city upon submittal of the signed agreement a street tree planting plan showing location, sizes, and species, and that's subject to the approval of the city forester. And then on page 6 of the agreement, it talks about the total amount that is owed for street trees for this overall development. It's based on a unit price of $375 per tree, which is the 2023 rate, and the city plants the trees following build out of the lots. So that just applies, like Mark mentioned, to the trees within the right of way. The landscaping plan, which is reviewed by the plan commission, that's separate, obviously.
So in this case, can we pull up the colored site plan that we've got there?
Yep.
And maybe I'm too late with this comment because we've already approved the SIP once, I believe, and this is just a modification. But I was just wondering if like, for instance, if we look at High Road, there's no trees between the building and the sidewalk. On the other two streets, there seems to be some plantings there. And I would think that High Road, we'd want to have some treescape there as well as whatever's in the terrace themselves. And I don't know if this is a true landscape plan or if this is just a representation,
Yeah, I think it probably should be viewed as more of a representation. And we should
Okay.
look at the landscape plan, which are included in the materials.
Yeah.
One of the other variables, I think, well, two variables I guess we should look at too would be, I believe that, there's utility easement kind of along both of these, and then we just need to be sensitive to that, as well as fire access, for the heights of the trees and kind of density and all of that. So between those two, we would certainly need to coordinate that as well.
fair enough.
Great questions. Any further questions or comments? I,
I have a question.
Go ahead.
On this topic. Is there a terrace along High Road there? I thought that that path was abutted next to the road.
it looks like one is showing in this.
Yeah, and we should probably look at, again, probably either zoom in on this image here or look at the architectural site plan to really more.
I can maybe, just from memory, I believe that they added this, that the Red Tail Ridge project added some dedicated some right of way. I'm not sure about that, but I doubt that the path that exists to the south of here is being built that same way to the north. I think there'll be a bigger separation between the street and the,
Mhm.
I would think, because of, the reason why it is the way it is to the south is because it was shoehorned in with an existing narrow right of way and,
Okay.
through town land. So, it's a
Wade
good question.
Wise, who's the engineer, has his hand
Oh, good.
raised.
Oh, thank you. Go ahead, Wade. And Daphne, are you trying to bring something up? Is it just taking forever to load?
Taking a
Okay.
long time.
Go ahead, Wade.
Yeah, I was just gonna make the comment that as it relates to High Road, as part of the overall development, there was right-of-way dedication, and there was also a deposit made by the Red Tail Ridge developer for the future reconstruction of High Road. So the rural section that goes through High Road right now in the future will be redeveloped up to the path that's being installed. An additional right-of-way was dedicated.
Thank you.
Any other questions? I had just a couple. Commissioner Bruce brought up trees, and I don't know if this is something I heard or just something I hope for, but is the plan to incorporate native landscaping as much as possible to sort of be an extension of the Conservancy?
Yes, and there is some native landscaping. I mean, that was one of the drivers when we were selecting plantings for this. So in the landscaping plan, you can see there, the species that were chosen were selected, with the intention that would be more native landscaping.
Okay, great.
I think there will be sort of a combination of, more manicured and native, certainly in different areas, but that was one of the drivers.
Okay, thank you. And then I had a question about page 44 of the packet. There's a note that says future panel, meaning solar panel installation, not addressed from August submission.
Yeah, and I think Andy probably would be best to maybe sort of address that.
Sure. Thank you. One of the reasons that we would not install the solar panels right away on this building is just due to the, the sort of the federal, grants that kind of are associated with these. And there's a prevailing wage component, which, we're a merit contractor and we hire merit workers, and it would add significant cost to do it, immediately. And also it's really important when sizing these panels to size them. The unfortunate reality is that there's not actually a disincentive to installing more than you need, because you end up selling, the credits back for pennies on the dollar based on the installation. So we really want to have, a year or two of kind of good actual utility usage to be able to size it appropriately, and then to be able to use, some of the federal, monies for that.
Okay, great. Thank you for that answer. All right, so if there's no further discussion, we need a motion. Oh, go ahead.
Going back to the site plan, it looked like the lot to the north didn't have a connection to the neighborhood anymore as a drive out. Is that correct, to Bellefontaine? Or what is that?
Yeah, I just want to make sure. So north is actually to the left on the,
Okay.
the real north, but as we're talking about sort of
See.
plan north here,
Yeah,
maybe you could kind of
so
indicate where you're.
The north lot 3, what is that? Lot 2.
Okay, yep.
Is there a connection to a street into the neighborhood or only to High Road?
Only to High Road.
Only to High Road. Yeah.
So I remember Randy Bruce asking for more connection to the neighborhood, that pedestrians would be able to be more connected to the neighborhood. And here I'm not seeing that families can walk into the neighborhood very easily without going back to High Road.
Yeah, so you're talking about to the neighborhood to the what would be the west in this case, or excuse me, to the east.
So the neighborhood is
Right.
east of these lots.
Yes,
is that
okay.
correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That, so that sort of curvy, yeah, right away that's kind of running through there is basically sort of a drainage swale that's kind of running through the spit. And so we looked at a bridge connection and, and it got to be fairly complicated and convoluted to try to kind of engineer that, not knowing exactly how that lot 3 was going to be worked through. I believe we do have a pedestrian access that was coming off of that on the northern portion that went over to Bellefontaine, and then up along Bellefontaine, but maybe that is not, might be,
That was added.
yeah, if we go back to,
She's highlighting it.
Yeah, it's this like kind of grayish.
yeah, yeah.
That looks like it's like a sidewalk
So
connection.
we do have a connection over there. It's just not going directly over the property. It's just taking, connecting back over to Bellefontaine, and then you'd
Okay.
have that connection up. Yeah, so.
That acceptable?
Yeah, that's me.
Okay.
I forgot.
Yeah. Anything else? All right, hearing no further questions or discussion, thank you. Would someone like to recommend approval of a minor modification to the SIP for lots 1 and 2 of Middleton, or I'm sorry, of Red Tail Ridge with the following contingencies? Maybe I'll read them because it might take Daphne long. Her computer's struggling. Resolution of all staff comments. Oh, there it is. Provided in the plan set. Approval of access and site layout by public safety, approval of both the Lot 1 and Lot 2 certified survey maps, and the applicant will support the city assigning the multifamily high-density classification or its equivalent at the time the city adopts its new zoning map.
And Chair, can we add a couple of conditions which they had kind of agreed to this evening, which was to add the canopies over the new entrances and to work with their landscape plan and the city forester in terms of the tree plantings on either side of the city sidewalk.
And canopies over the new entrances, you're referring to trees, actual?
Actual
Okay,
built canopy cover, roof covering.
okay. So the motion would be to recommend approval of a minor SIP modification with those 5, as well as number 6, canopy placement or,
Yeah, addition of canopies over the newly designed building entries.
okay, and upon
Can
approval.
I,
Go ahead, Mark. You're gonna
So
let
the
us
addition of, so what would be added as number 6 is the addition of canopies over the additional building entrances. And then city forester approval of a revised landscaping plan to add trees along the west property line. Is that what you were?
Yes, along the west property line, that's fair. Yes.
City forester approval of a revised landscaping plan to add trees along the west property line.
Is that of a specific lot? Because the image I'm remembering,
Yeah, that would be lot 2, I think. Along,
Mr. Bruce, would it be permissible to, for these new additions that we're gonna include here to kind of deal with these on the staff level versus coming back in front of the plan commission?
Yeah, that's my understanding.
that's why I said city forester approval, just
Yeah.
to try and take it out of, just to move on.
I'm just looking for the picture. No wonder it takes Stephanie's
Yeah,
computer so
it's-
long.
It's loading. It's thinking really hard.
I thought that maybe it was just Daphne's computer, so I tried opening it too, and it's doing the same thing on
Yeah.
mine. So I shut it down because I didn't want to delay yours opening.
Then maybe instead of on the western, what did you say, Mark, about the western?
Along the west side of lot 2 is what I was suggesting.
And that's for buildings 1 and 2?
Is that High Road you're talking
Yes.
about?
Yeah,
Here, so I have
that's
this one up. So this is lot 2.
Yep.
And so High Road is along the west.
Landscaping, okay.
But it's What's the furthest most north lot? Is that,
Those are both lot 2.
oh, that's all lot two?
Yeah.
Both
Yeah.
of those are lot two? Very good.
Yes.
Okay, so would you repeat that seventh contingency?
City Forester approval of revised landscaping plan to add trees along the west side of lot 2.
Okay, that is the motion. Who
Or
would like?
does it specific to trees, or were you thinking
Yeah,
trees
I was thinking
specifically?
trees, yes.
Who would like to make a motion?
Second that? Was it, it was?
You can first it.
Okay.
All right.
I thought you first did it.
I'll make a motion to recommend approval of a minor SIP modification with the 7 conditions. Is
Yes,
that correct?
and then,
I'll second that.
all right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
And the way I'm phrasing it is to approve the plan set as a minor SIP modification for both lots 1 and 2 with the following contingencies. That's how I'm phrasing it.
Yep.
Okay.
All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hello, Mayor. The ayes have it. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
All right, the next item of business is the certified survey map for apartments at Middleton Valley, lots 1 and 2 of Red Tail Ridge. And the staff are recommending approval of the CSM for lot 1 and lot 2 contingent upon resolution of engineering staff comments. Any update from staff on the contingencies?
No, the contingencies are the same as, the engineering staff comments are the same as what was in the packet, which is still loading right now.
Okay. Who would like to make a motion? And we'll begin discussion if there is any.
Adams will make the motion.
Okay.
CSM for lots 1 and 2.
Yeah, it's approval of the CSM for lots 1 and 2 of Red Tail Ridge, contingent upon resolution of engineering staff comments. I'll second that motion. Any discussion? Nothing from the mayor. Okay, hearing none. All those in favor of approving the certified survey map for lots 1 and 2 of apartments at Middleton Valley, Red Tail Ridge, contingent upon resolution of engineering staff comments, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? I didn't catch if the mayor voted. I know she wouldn't have opposed, but yeah, she's voting yes. She's really doing double duty tonight. Okay, the last item of business is a specific implementation plan for Middleton Shores redevelopment at 6140 Century Avenue. Staff, do you have an update?
I have one modification to the contingencies. The last line, the last 7, this surfaced today from our engineering staff. So the plan set that you have in your packet, we turned off a lot of comments that there were literally hundreds of yellow boxes that we removed from, so you wouldn't get distracted by them. And so in the course of doing that, our city engineer was concerned that we might have taken out more comments than we intended. And it's not entirely clear if we did or didn't. So because it's not clear, what I'm suggesting is striking number 7 and replacing it with this sentence: submittal prior to council approval of a revised SIP addressing all engineering staff comments and recommendations as indicated in the plan set returned to the developer on January 2nd and on the plan set the developer submitted on January 10th. So basically making sure that the 2 plan sets, that any comments that were on these 2 plan sets are addressed. And then we'll work with you on making sure that the plan set comes in the format that we need, because this was an issue that we've had with some other projects as well, and we want to make sure that doesn't happen again.
And just to clarify further, the little yellow boxes, the hundreds of boxes, they are not staff comments.
Right.
They're related to the development of the document, and that's why we didn't want them to all come through on your packet.
Yeah, it's a computer, like depending on what version of the software you have, some people see it, some people don't. And yeah, actually, there's an example if you can see that on the screen.
Yeah, so these are all comments as well, but
weren't
they
ours.
basically restate, what is really kind of hard to see down here, but
Okay.
So anyway, so the larger boxes that you see within the plan by the buildings, those are the
staff's
engineering staff
comments.
comments that we're concerned about. And they've done a good job addressing many of them, but there were still some outstanding ones. So we just want to make sure that they're all addressed before, in a clean plan set, but that before it goes to council. So
Okay.
this isn't a substantive change. It's just to, dot the i's and cross the t's.
Okay, thank you. Daphne, can you go back to the most recommended motion? Just so we can get a motion and then start discussion. So the motion we're seeking is to determine that the SIP is reasonably consistent with the GIP and recommend approval to the Common Council contingent upon the first 6 items and a different 7th item.
And we do have the 7th one typed,
And
but it might be hard to get to it.
Actually, before we even get to a motion, number 6 stands out as not being a thing. I'm sorry, they're all, you have to do this, that, and the other thing, and this one doesn't say that. So I would rephrase that one to say contingent upon future approval of signage details as a minor SIP modification.
Sounds good.
Okay, so with changed 6 and 7, we have modified slightly. Who would like to make a motion? And then we'll discuss.
I'll make motion that the SIP is reasonably consistent with the GIP and recommend approval to the Common Council contingent upon 7 conditions. 6 and 7 are being drafted by Mark.
Well, they're drafted.
They're
Yeah.
drafted by Mark, and do you want to read those off for us?
6 reads future approval of signage details as a minor SIP modification. And number 7 is submittal prior to council approval of a revised SIPs addressing all engineering staff comments and recommendations as indicated in the 2 plan sets that I mentioned.
Thank you for that motion. Who would like to second?
Adams, a second.
Okay, discussion.
As for staff, why my memory isn't as good as it could be, but why didn't we deal with this at the last meeting? I can't remember why we didn't. Was it we couldn't?
Because the council, there were a couple conditions of GIP approval that we wanted the council to, in one case, remove, which was the zoning, and then the other one was a modification of when the CSM would be approved. And we felt it was better to have the council consent to those changes before you approved it. That's the main reason. And actually the other one was the stormwater plan. So that hadn't been to the Water Resources Management Commission, and that has since gone there. And last Wednesday, I think it was. So those were the 2 biggies.
Thank you.
Mayor, do you have any questions about this one or comments?
No, I'm just excited to get it moving forward.
Great.
Thank you.
So any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of approving the recommendation to determine that the SIP is, or to find the SIP reasonably consistent with the GIP and recommend approval to the Common Council contingent upon the first 5 contingencies and 2 others, which Mark has read a few times. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the ayes have it. We have reached the end of our agenda, Mayor, so we will adjourn. Say hi to the governor.